I'd like to yield to my colleague, our newest member from Massachusetts, Congressman Kennedy.
I'd like to begin by thanking the gentlelady from Massachusetts for the opportunity and, most importantly, excuse me, for pulling us all together here today to mark a moment that none of us will ever forget, and a signature moment in Massachusetts history. I also want to begin by recognizing the victims of the horrific attacks that happened last Monday. Thoughts and prayers are with them and their families as they begin a long road to recovery. I think, like many of my colleagues from Massachusetts, and like so many people from Massachusetts and from really around the country and around the world, have always delighted in Marathon Monday. I don't know how many times I went out and watched the runners as they ran by on their quest to the finish line in Boylston Street. My stepmother has actually run the marathon a number of times, and together with my dad and brother, we would often go down to Heartbreak Hill to watch the runners at the time that they need it most. And as you see all the runners run by, I think one of the things that always stuck with me was how many people were there cheering them on. And if you think about it, it's 26.2 miles with people from the very beginning in Hopkinton to the end on Boylston Street in Boston, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows deep on each side of the street, sitting there, screaming, yelling, offering a bottle of water, or literally a hand to those that are striving for an incredible feat of personal endurance and excellence. And that's really, I think, to me, what that marathon, what that day is all about. It's about a community that comes together to cheer on not just the runners, but to celebrate what we have built together. To recognize that that day isn't just about those individual feats of excellence, but about a community that is willing to cheer on complete strangers. For runners to know, and you'll hear it if you talk to those that have competed in that race, that yes, it's an extraordinarily difficult course, but that Boston is one of the best marathons to run because there is always a crowd that is there to carry you through to the finish line. Complete strangers, people you will never see before and never see again, but they are there to offer a hand. And so it was with great sadness, but also great pride, that I watched the events unfold on Monday. To see complete strangers run into danger rather than flee from it. To see our first responders answer a call of bravery without hesitation. To meet the doctor that, after running the marathon and completing 26.2 miles, ran to work so that he could get started helping save victims. To meet some of the victims and their families. To know that we will never, despite how much we have come together, be able to replace Martin and Crystal and Lou and Officer Collier. But that the long path to recovery, that we will be there with them for every step of the way. That to recognize the law enforcement officers that put themselves in grave danger, never quite knowing what might happen or what weapons these two terrible individuals might have on them, that took great risks for the sake of safety for our own communities. To the investigators and the prosecutors that now have the long task of bringing these individuals to justice. To our sports teams, to the 17,000 strong that sang the national anthem in Boston Garden, and the 30,000 plus that belted it out at Fenway Park. To Mayor Menino, Vice President Biden, and President Obama for their leadership in this difficult time. To the One Fund for Boston that in shortly over 10 days has already grown to over $20 million, pouring in from citizens from around the country to help provide a little bit of relief to those who will need it most in this long road to recovery. It is an extraordinary message, a powerful symbol that gets back to what Boston and Massachusetts has always been about. From the first people that set foot on our shores, the earliest settlers and the pilgrims, that we have each other's backs, and we always will. And that next year, on Patriots Day, the marathon will be run more crowded, and louder than ever. And with that, I yield back.